Hello, Internet. It's Paul. It's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here talking about Luke Cage, Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4. Wig out, and I get physical, which, Paul, as you informed me, are based on song lyrics. Much like Season 1 had its own song lyric. Right. This is also based on a particular group. That group's name?
CL Smooth and Pete Rock, I think it is.
Okay, that's the one. Anyway, so song lyrics, yes, or song titles. All right, episode 3 opens. It's pretty much exactly where episode 2 left off. Luke Cage has been pummeling a cockroach.
Yeah.
A human cockroach. Does he turn into the cockroach eventually? That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
But I don't think that's happening. But so. If you remember from at the end of episode 2, Luke is pummeling this guy because he was abusing his wife and kid. And so instead of just, hey, I'm stopping the abuse and you're under arrest or something, he's like, and you're going to pay for it with my fists. And so Luke realizes, maybe a little too late, but realizes, I'm actually scary now. I'm scaring the kids, yeah.
This kid.
So he's
and his wife.
He has this little moment, an epiphany moment of sorts, like, I should stop. Claire arrives. I forgot how Claire knew about that, but whatever. She arrives. And she assesses the situation. Cockroach, he's got a concussion. He's alive. He's not dead. He's got some broken ribs. She says, hey, this guy needs an MRI. MRIs come up a lot in this show. They do. He needs an MRI. He's in trouble. We need to make sure he's not gonna die. And Luke, this is kind of the beginning of a series of Luke is a jerk moments. Like they try to make him look jerky. I feel like. Am I wrong in that? Like maybe I just feel like what they're trying to do because
they're setting up the fact that they think he's becoming overconfident and also perhaps abusing his power.
Yes, right. And we talked about the fact that this seems like the theme of this season is his identity. What's your identity? Are you Carl? Are you Luke? Or what are you a hero? Are you a vigilante? Are you Carl? Right. And so that obviously that arc is going to have him, hit the low point, and he gets a pretty low point already. Actually, by the time we finish episode 4. Yes. We'll talk about it, but he's lost Claire. His kind of mentor figure has left town. He's been beaten up. Yeah. So anyway, okay. So Claire's like, yeah, we got to get this guy to a hospital, basically. And Luke's like, hey, well, we got to keep this secret. I don't want to get in trouble. She's like, yeah. Anyway, ambulance, Misty. So she calls both the ambulance and Misty, which inevitably gets the cops involved. Misty makes the choice to let Luke go. He tells her, look, I was here. This guy was abusing his wife. Cockroach, because Cockroach was the guy that was she had put him in jail, and then he got out and was threatening her a little bit. So she's like, yeah, it's fine.
Well,
you beat the crap out of him.
He got released because of the cop that she was working with in the first season who was killed.
Scarf.
He was shown to be
bad cop.
A bad cop, yeah.
But the point being, she didn't really like Cockroach anyway.
No.
And so she's like, you beat up Cockroach.
Yeah.
All right. So she lets Luke go. She says, get out of here, I'll handle it.
A bad cop.
She's a bad cop. Okay, so, but yeah, so we see this idea that Luke lost control and is kind of okay with it. So we've got then, I'm trying to parse 3 and 4 here. We've got the situation where Luke is searching for the Jamaicans. I'm probably skipping ahead here a little bit, but he goes into Brooklyn to go search for Nigel. Now he doesn't realize Nigel is missing his head at this point because Bushmaster killed him a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, right, because the whole thing is that Mariah needs to sell guns so that she can get money for this stock deal to make money so that she can quit the business. And so he's Luke is slowly getting the people who she wants to do these deals with.
Right. He's limiting her options.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go. Well, he doesn't know that's what she wants, but he's
He doesn't want the guns out on the streets.
That's true. He doesn't want that.
And so he's trying to stop these deals. So he goes into Brooklyn. It's a pretty cool scene, actually. He ends up at Gwen's. Now, what we find out later, there's a scene in episode 4 where it's Bushmaster's hangout.
Yes.
His uncle owns it. Everybody knows Bushmaster there. And he is... I mentioned that I thought they were trying to do this duality of Bushmaster and Luke, that Luke could become a Bushmaster character. And we do see that Bushmaster, like Luke, this is his version of Pops. So in Harlem, Luke hangs out at Pops. Everybody knows him. Everybody comes in. Oh, chatty, blah, blah, blah. Well, over in Brooklyn, Gwen's is Bushmaster's version of Pops. And he hangs out. Everybody knows him. Hey, it's Bushmaster. Check it out. High five. Okay. So at Gwen's, there are basically these older guys playing cards. Luke tries to ask them, hey, have you seen this guy Bushmaster? Or whatever he said. I forgot how he doesn't know Bushmaster's name at that point. But, a guy with the name Nigel. He's looking for Nigel, not looking for Bushmaster. Right. And they're like, get out of here, you. We know who you are. He's like, he throws in do you know who I am? And they're like, yeah. Get it.
And that's when they start this joke, which, it's falling flat for me. But, you don't run faster than Usain Bolt, which... I guess the song said he ran fast.
Well, no, I think it was when he does the tryouts. Someone goes, his time in the 40 was 3.7. That's faster than Usain Bolt.
Okay.
But which is, I guess, that's a reasonable tie-in. But you're right. The joke is like it's funny maybe once, but it's not even that funny. It's just like what it's implying is everyone in Jamaica wants Usain Bolt to be the fastest man, and if someone is faster, screw that guy, kill him. I don't know. It's just not that. It's not as funny a joke as someone thought it was when they were writing it. They're like, this will be great. Yeah. Everyone will go like, oh, you said you were faster than Usain Bolt? Okay, yeah, he is. I don't know. Okay, he wasn't. They timed him, and that's the time. I don't know. Okay. So he gets basically rebuked, but he does follow a guy out of the guy who's I don't know.
The guy who just happened to be there.
Guy's very nervous.
Somebody, I don't think I'll leave.
If guy just sits there.
See you guys.
And Luke walks out. It's fine, but instead he's like, oh my God, this guy Luke Cage, he could give us trouble if I lead him to our hideout. Yeah. Let me lead him to our hideout. He's an idiot. All right. Anyway, so yes, he.
Then Luke does the clever thing of I'll just walk past you, walk the other way. I'm free. Or I can go backwards.
Admittedly, his version of following a guy. First of all, everybody does know him.
Yes.
So it's not like he's stealth.
No, it's not. And
it's broad daylight.
And
it's not dark.
That hey, wearing a mask would not help me.
So
that's later on.
So he's walking down the street in broad daylight, not really hiding behind a mailbox or anything like that. He's just walking.
I think he's looking like sometimes.
So the guy ducks into an alley or something, or it's like, just watches Luke walk by, looks around like, oh, wow, he was following me obviously, but now he's obviously not. So I'll just start walking again, and Luke comes back. So it's literally just. It's like a 5-second detour, and then we get the implication that the guy never checked again. Like, he's fine. I get it.
No, because he goes in the thing like, oh, Luke Cage is following me. So if he was like, haha, I just ditched Luke Cage.
Okay, all right.
He would have been.
So he knows Luke's following him.
Yes.
Okay. So then, why did he go to the place that he shouldn't have go to then? I don't know.
Because he wanted to help him. Pull the guns, remember? Pull the guns out on him.
That's a good point. Okay, anyway. Luke Cage has no interest in that guy other than the place that he works at, and so he goes to the place he works at. Okay. That's a little weird. Anyway, so yes, Luke uses incredibly sophisticated sleuthing techniques to show up at Bushmaster's place, Nigel/Bushmaster. There's a confrontation. We think maybe this is going to be the big fight between Bushmaster and Luke. It's not.
Wait, no.
Instead, Bushmaster sends his waves of expendable henchmen
yes.
and films the results. So he's it's kind of cool that he's doing a little recon on Luke's powers. And so, sure enough, Luke beats the hell out of everybody, gets shot, doesn't matter. The guy with a chain.
Yeah, he gets a grenade and,
Yeah, he blows up the grenade in his hand. That was pretty, that's a pretty good power. And so you can see Bushmaster's like, oh, kind of impressed, but then also like, all right, got it.
I need to use more root.
I need to go back to Mariah's daughter Tilda's place.
Got to use a lot more of that,
Nightshade.
Nightshade.
So then Luke beats everybody up. It's like, hey, this is my town or whatever, or Harlem's my place, my town. I forgot how he puts it exactly.
Get out of my yard or something.
Yeah, and then he leaves. Get off my lawn. Yeah, kids. So that happens. Claire, I believe it's in episode 3, goes to visit the dad again.
That's how they had the fight.
That's how they had the fight. So Claire goes to visit Luke's dad at the church, and she more kind of gets, it's not a confession really. She's like, I need help. I need counseling.
I'm sure he's not Catholic.
I need counseling, and I've got a boyfriend. I'll call him Luther until I later call him Luke in the same conversation, and well disguised. And
Luther.
And he's got problems, and I feel like I'm losing him. And what does she say about Luke in that situation? Does she mention to this day, like, oh, I think he's losing who he is or something like that, or he's fallen off the hero's path? Maybe I forgot it. I forgot how she.
I did too.
Says it, but
I mean, it wasn't because I like the actor who did who's in that role, but I was.
The Luke's dad role.
Yeah, but I was impatient with the whole
okay
storyline, unfortunately.
So he figures out, obviously, what anybody would, that it's Luke Cage she's talking about, and it's like, oh, it's my son. Oh, my son's having some problems. Oh, okay, interesting. She gets counseling from him. I just realized you're not plugged in. So mutter. So they have a conversation, and Claire comes away from that being more convinced that Luke needs to reunite with his dad in order to heal himself.
Yeah.
And so we'll jump to that.
Jeez, it's like you need to trust him more. It's like you don't know what he did in the past, and just because you feel like anyway, that was very frustrating.
Right.
At least, it's sort of like, you set up this situation for the character to, be forgetting his past or whatever. So ultimately, presumably, he's got to make right with his dad. Maybe that's
certainly has to make right with his dad.
Something's supposed to happen towards the end of the season.
You watching probably already know this. I don't.
I don't either.
Okay.
But now I'm wondering if that's his dad dying. But see, why would that be controversial? No one would miss him.
That would be a pretty big moment,
but
we didn't really meet this dad until this season.
That's the thing that I'm kind of interested in.
So you think Claire dying, and you're saying it's partial wish fulfillment because you're like, you're not very fond of the character in
this particular role, or even in the series, unfortunately, because it's sort of like, I think she's a great actress. But, her role in this is to just bandage everybody up, and take care of people who are problems and say, oh, maybe you should talk to one of these superheroes. I always help superheroes out, because they can't go to the hospital because doctors, report to the cops or whatever. So, that's not a great role. So, it doesn't look like, because Jessica Jones has her own show and Luke Cage has his own show, that in the comics they're married, they have a child, but it doesn't seem like it could possibly happen with them each having their own shows. So it's like, okay, so let's explore this, what we've got here.
Right. They'd have the relationship. And so, we'll cut to that. So at the end of episode 3, they've got a very long conversation. Which, the arc of the conversation is she tells him stuff he doesn't want to hear. He gets angry. He hits a wall. She realizes, okay, I'm actually kind of scared of you now. I need to. We're splitting up.
Right, and
then he gets apologetic.
She says that her home life growing up was kind of abusive, so she did not want to
get the idea that her dad was a punch in the wall kind of guy.
Yeah, and so she did not want to be in that situation again. So that is calling her to really reassess the relationship.
Right, and then he gets really apologetic, but it's too late, and she leaves, and we find out in episode 4 she's like, packed my bags, she's heading to the beach. I guess she's like, I need to see water. Yeah. So she's out. And the arc is the scene itself. The point of the scene is fine. It's written clunky. It doesn't flow. I'm not sure in what way it could be better, but there is something that's not quite believable about the scene. And maybe part of it is what you're talking about, where she just jumps in and is like, you had to see your dad. And I know this is a really sore point for you, but I'm just going to play it off like I know better. Right. I know best.
Right. And also, so it really makes it like, oh, my childhood was difficult, and so now I swore to never do that again. But who cares about whatever you swore about your childhood and your father cheating on you, or cheating on your mother, basically, in your family, and creating a brother for you.
And then not telling you.
I guess he had to kill. No, or is he in jail? I can't remember what happened to.
What happened to Diamondback?
Yeah, Diamondback.
Yeah, good point.
Remind us.
Yeah,
we'll probably read it later on.
He got beaten up. I know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Was it a death beating?
Yeah.
So yeah, clunky or not, it ends with the two of them have split up. So he's lost his love interest.
Yeah.
And
listening to sad songs on the street when
he gets punched, knocked out, was something he hasn't experienced in a long time.
Yes,
which is someone hits him hard enough to knock him down,
yes.
And it's Bushmaster, and that's where we end episode 3. Now to cut back real fast because there's we didn't talk about Mariah. For instance.
We didn't talk about Misty.
Right, so Misty is training with Colleen Wing from Iron Fist.
Yep.
And she's doing the one-armed boxing.
Yeah.
And feeling sorry for herself, as you probably would.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
know. Especially if you're in a boxing ring. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for bringing this up. How can we accentuate the fact that I'm missing an arm? Oh, I know, boxing. So she's feeling sorry for herself. Colleen's kind of one of these, like, I'll show you. A little tough love.
Got to get you back up on that horse there.
So she insults her and then beats her up, all with the intention of, like, making her mad. Which is like, okay, fine. She makes her mad, but not mad enough. She's still sorry for herself. So Colleen's got the brilliant plan, which we see. It's a trope. I mean, I've seen it in all kinds of movies. I remember seeing it in, it wasn't Bloodsport. It was one of the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Maybe Kickboxer. Anyway, where it's like
I
hey,
lived a better life than you.
You feel like you're at a good point in your kickboxing training. Now let's go to the local bar where people won't accept you and get drunk and ask a woman to dance. And so that's what happens here. Where it's like Colleen's like, let's go get a drink at a bar where probably we'll get hit on, and then someone's going to recognize that you're a cop and put them and their brother in jail, and then there'll be a giant bar fight, and you're going to get your confidence back or die. Either way, let's go find out what happens. So, sure enough, they go to the bar. The fight itself is pretty cool. I'll give it that.
Yeah, decent fight.
The fight scene is cool to watch. It's just the makings of the fight are like, what? First of all, the guy hits on him, and then I thought it was going with like a, hey babe, I'm a sexual abuser guy.
I'm unable to say no. What you're saying no to me? Obviously, I'm gonna, you're just women. So I will, dominate you and make you bow to my will.
And then that would lead to a fight.
But no.
Instead, it's like
the other option.
They start there, and then they're like, oh, hey, wait, you put my brother in Dannemora. Could have started with, hey, you put my brother in Dannemora.
Yeah, they couldn't.
But that was the inciting incident, and then there's a lot of pool cues.
I suspect that if she had liked him, then he would have been fine with the rest of it. My brother was kind of a jerk.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, my brother. We never got along. So yes. So she gets her confidence back, and we do see later on, it might be more episode 4 actually, but she gets this mysterious letter from the Rand Corporation, which is Danny, Iron Fist.
It said Danny and Misty.
And it said, from
I'm sorry, not Missy.
No,
She's Missy.
Colleen.
Colleen.
And it's like, hey, we think you're ready. We've got this cool mechanical arm. She has that little diagram of it. Could take a picture, but whatever, they drew it. They're like, no, it's a drawing on graph paper.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, we'll frame this thing for you.
There's a lot of research still to do, so we're hoping you can fill in some blanks. Hey, and she kind of makes the little, you can see the emotional choice. I'm ready. Yes, I'm going to go get this awesome mechanical arm that'll let me punch the crap out of things. So that's, I assume, where that's going. So maybe even episode 5, we'll have her with an arm. And she'll no longer have to do the blue green screen arm off thing. So there was that. So then Mariah, Bushmaster goes ahead and makes the deal that Nigel was going to make.
Yes.
With Shades. So Shades shows up. He's like, where's Nigel? Oh, his head's in a bag.
With a bunch of money.
So, and...
More than they were asking for.
Right. Gave them more than they were asking for. I'm like...
That's not suspicious.
And so Shades is suspicious.
Yes.
And he counsels Mariah. He's like, look... Well, actually, this is in episode 4, but we're kind of episode 4 right now.
Especially after he's Bushmaster kicked the ass of Luke Cage.
Right. So he's like, here's a guy that can obviously is stronger in some ways, a better fighter than Luke Cage.
Yeah. Who
apparently has designs on you, Mariah. Keeps calling him Stokes and doesn't seem happy to do it. So we should watch out for this guy. And she's like, what? Money! Yay! So that happens. Mariah touches base with her daughter.
Yes.
And there's a scene where they're back at the old homestead, and Tilda hasn't been there since she's been a young kid.
Right.
So whatever, I'm not sure the past there, but somehow they split early. Seems like. She's like, I was 10 when you last... She didn't talk like that, but anyway. Okay. So what I found interesting about this scene was Tilda's remembrances are like, oh yeah, this was... I remember the Stokes family and how it was, family first. But then also I remember like whispered voices and like bloody towels or something like that. She describes like she was basically watching gangster stuff happening in the house.
Gangster stuff.
And like, don't talk about it. And so Mariah's kind of like, well, hey, those are old times. Long gone. Now we're just glad back here. Hang on a second. I need to go talk to this guy who just showed up. Hey. Okay, anyway, I have to go now. And anyway, so it's the exact same thing that Tilda was just talking about, which I believe Tilda takes note of.
Yes.
Oh, this family hasn't changed at all.
She does.
She goes to a fundraiser her mom, Mariah's throwing, and finds out, it becomes basically the exploited daughter in that thing where she's like, we believe in families. Always said family first. And speaking of family, my daughter's here. Right, daughter? Who is awesome and supports me in everything I do?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's headed for a problem. I don't know what the problem... I mean, I feel like they're not going to be like, oh, you know what? Episode 13, we're all happy family now.
Right.
She's going to go away or Tilda's going to die. Or, I mean... maybe she'll kill Tilda. She killed her brother.
She has more importance to the story in a way than Mariah, because Mariah, basically, it seems like Bushmaster needs to defeat Mariah, but the daughter Tilda provided that nightshade, an important nightshade. So,
and she is from the comics, I believe, as well. I could be wrong, but
can't tell you that.
So you've got a situation, as you pointed out. Bushmaster is going after Mariah. He's stated as much, and Luke's in his way. So he's like, "Oh, Luke's going to be a problem, so I have to get rid of Luke. But my real objective is getting rid of Mariah."
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Mariah's trying to connect with her daughter. But
he's satisfied just beating him, though. I think he just, he looms large in Harlem, which for some reason he thinks is his birthright.
Yes.
So defeating him goes a long way to sort of showing, okay, no, I'm the one to be concerned about.
I got you. Right. Just defeating Luke is enough, is what you're saying.
At this point,
killing
anyway.
him.
Right.
Meanwhile, though, you do have some other dynamics in play. One is that Shades compatriot Comanche,
Yeah.
we find out is a undercover operative for the cops, and so he very awkwardly is trying to get information out of Mariah. It's just these weird moments where he gets left alone with her. Like Shade's like, I got stuff to do. You look after Mariah. And he kind of walks up and he's like, when I was in jail, I did accounting. Anyway, could I look at the books? Kind of. I was like, you get him, Comanche. That guy, I'm gonna go out on the limb here, putting on my invisible money down. There is no way that guy survives this season.
Oh.
If that guy is alive and at the end of episode 13, right, 13 episodes, I will be shocked. Yeah. The fact that he works for the cops, for one thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. You guys can take the bet.
So he's betraying
I don't
Shades.
know. Yes.
For one.
Yes.
So if Shades found that out, Shades would kill him.
Right.
Mariah already hates him.
She already hates
and he says to her face, I'm not afraid of you.
Yes.
And she says, you should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not exactly convinced that he should be, but
I'm just saying she could order a hit on that guy easy.
I guess she could order a hit on him. Yes, I guess.
Yeah.
But not well. I guess she has enough money too to really make it worth somebody's while.
I'm just saying
to me that's incentive to kill her before she can do that. I mean, it's like you wouldn't survive me.
I'm just saying. I think between Mariah and Shades, and then hell, Bushmaster. He might get in the way of Bushmaster trying to get to Mariah. I'm just saying that guy has a lot of reasons people might want to kill him.
I don't think Bushmaster would care.
Well, Bushmaster would beat the hell out of him on his way to Mariah.
I guess.
And that might kill him.
So at that point, it might be like, I never really liked you. You never liked me. Go right ahead, Bushmaster.
Good point. I just feel like put the tombstone down. Comanche, we hardly knew ye. All right.
Possible.
So there's that dynamic going on. Oh, and then the new girl at the club at Harlem's Paradise that Mariah's kind of grooming to be in her gang, basically. She calls her Billy, even though that's not her real name.
No.
Billy is working for the Jamaicans.
Yes.
So she's a spy for the Jamaicans.
Yep.
But also she, I guess, has some kind of kinky sexual liaison with a board member, and they get pictures, and they use it to blackmail this guy.
It's at least extramarital. But yeah, I guess she did call out that it was kinky, whatever he was doing.
Yeah. So that's what they use to blackmail Mariah getting this special, that's what she wants, basically.
Yeah.
Which was also an awkward scene a little bit, because the guy's standing there with the pictures. I don't know, it just felt like he had to continue to be almost social, where it was just like, hey, well, you did this to me. You got me on that one.
Well, that's when the daughter comes in and saw this. Oh, well, it was nice to see you.
Yeah.
After I blackmailed you.
Yeah. So anyway, it's successful, but there is a person working for the Jamaicans,
right, in
Harlem's Paradise, and a person working for the cops. So everybody pretty much knows everything at this point, except Luke. No, right?
Yeah.
So we've got, obviously, the big fight happens. So at the beginning of episode 4, we see what happens after Bushmaster knocks down Luke. Yeah. He continues to knock down Luke. Uses capoeira on him, which I think is interesting because that particular martial art, not that I can do it, but I know a little bit about it. It was actually introduced in Brazil. The Portuguese brought slaves over to Brazil from Africa. It became like an African-Brazilian martial art that the slaves would practice, and became outlawed because slave owners didn't want
to get kicked in the head.
Get kicked in the head. So in order to disguise the training,
funny, slave masters are.
Yeah. The slaves would disguised the training in the form of a dance. And so it became a cultural thing. Yeah, right. Right. So anyway, the fact that would be the martial art that is used by Bushmaster, and I think has cultural relevance for the Luke Cage show. I think
Sure.
I think it's a wise choice
Interesting color.
for the showrunners to
the
choose
palette.
that. Yes, quite. Also, we can bring up the fact that this is from the comics, but whatever. That Luke has this weird thing of everybody he runs into is named after a snake. It just so happens. I mean, that's the coincidence of a cottonmouth, a diamondback, a bushmaster. None of the. It's not like they're all brothers. And they were like, "Hey, our dad named us after snakes."
Nope.
Anyway, so we assume there's going to be a mamba and a boa constrictor and a asp.
There you go.
I don't know. Anyway,
There
okay.
you go. Garden.
That's a spoiler for next season. Yeah, garden, king. Okay. So Luke is beaten up, and it goes viral. Everybody's talking about it.
Yep.
The guy who was doing all the promo work for Luke is also promoting it's a beat down in Harlem.
Yeah.
And when Luke confronts him about it, he's like, "What? You'll be fine." And this is what everybody's talking about. I'm making money. They even have a cameo by Stephen Smith, ESPN guy, who normally would do boxing. And it's treated like a boxing match. He's like, "Oh, Luke Cage, you got taken out." But, it's always a younger guy coming in to take your place. Never mind the fact that it was just a street fight, two guys fighting on the street, not, Luke Cage, prize fighter. No, it's Luke Cage, guy who works at a barbershop. So Bushmaster is kind of, on the rise, obviously. Eventually, by the end of the episode, Bushmaster goes to Harlem's Paradise and confronts Mariah. Yeah. Well, he just bought a bunch of guns.
Yeah.
Or sold. Yeah, bought. He gave them money. They gave him guns. So he has the right to kind of get in there now. That's his ticket in.
Sure.
So he's basically, they not so subtly insult each other.
Yes.
And Bushmaster, we know Mariah recognizes the name Bushmaster, and we find out that in some way Bushmaster's grandfather was a partner with Mariah's grandfather. In what way, we don't know. It sounded like he said something like, "Who built this bar?" Yeah. And I was like, "Wait, did your grandfather build the bar? Was he a contractor?" And you're like, "That's why Harlem should be mine."
You built a lot of buildings in Harlem.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's not it, that he was actually a legit partner in crime and got double-crossed at some time. But Mariah knows kind of more than she's telling. Shades suspects something is weird there, but she's not telling Shades what's going on. We also have Misty goes to the ICE center, whatever, the holding cells.
Oh, yeah.
So they actually bring up ICE, which, somewhat relevant by today's problems. But this guy's about to be deported, and he's a Jamaican who knows Bushmaster. And so she's asking him for, like, "Hey, what's the intel on this guy?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't want to meet that guy. You don't want to be mad at you." And there's this little parable that... And the parable is the King of the Hill. So, hey, there's this guy on a hill, and he can see everything, and he thinks he's safe, and he's got the world by the tail. Yeah. But then there's a guy at the bottom of the hill who's, like, looking up, but he's like, "Hey, I realize all I got to do is go up and stab the guy on the hill, and I'm the king of the hill." And so we get a couple of other references to the hill. Who is it? Bushmaster's talking to somebody after seeing Mariah, and somebody... it's when Bushmaster goes back to Gwen's. Yeah. Which is his version of Pops. And he's talking to his uncle, and his uncle's like, "Well, how was your time on the hill?" Something like that. And I think he even Bushmaster mentions to Mariah, like, hope you liked your, I think he say your time on the hill, but something like that.
How do you like your fool on the hill?
And so we get he's the guy waiting with the knife at the bottom of the hill to go and take her out. He does not attack her in that particular scene.
No.
So we get to the end of episode 4, and at the end of episode 4, we've got the fight that the emotional fight that Luke has with Claire, and she leaves, No, that was the end of episode 3. Sorry, she's been gone. She's out of the picture.
Yeah.
The end of episode 4.
You're served.
Yeah, it's You're served, but it's before that. It's the other person leaves, which is Bobby. So Bobby is like, hey, I've got a chance to be a hero myself. I've got a chance to donate. I'm going to donate a kidney. I'm a match for my daughter, but I have to go away to go do this thing and sacrifice part of my. I thought that was kind of interesting. It was like, in the way that a typical, an everyman can be a hero. Like, it's heroic to, I'm going to donate part of my body to save someone else. I mean, that's a pretty heroic idea. The idea of what makes a hero, because that comes up again where Luke's like, people are questioning,
I mean, I guess. I mean, it seemed to me just seeing a way to make him be alone. Either that or he had something else to do for those episodes.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, I think as a narrative thing, it's isolating Luke. Yes. But I thought it was a kind of interesting touch too, to be like, oh yeah, here's a guy who you wouldn't think is like, oh, that's a hero in the Marvel universe. Like, oh, he's gonna go he's an old man giving a kidney.
That's true.
That's not a safe thing to do, really, particularly, and it's very magnanimous. So yeah, he leaves. I'm leaving town, Luke. Bye. And then somebody comes and serves Luke with some kind of a subpoena. Yeah. His appearance is required. We don't know what that is, but that's the end of the episode. So Luke.
I know what it is, but yes.
If you want to spoil it, you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a cockroach.
Oh, because he beat up Cockroach. Yeah. Okay, so
that's why we see your
civil
buddy.
suit. Oh God. I'm getting the worst possible news about this series, which is that my least favorite character
in all the MCU.
Wait,
what? Not against that neighbor, probably.
Yeah, okay. Jessica Jones' neighbor would be lower on the list. Not, when I say the neighbor, I mean the woman that lives upstairs with her brother, not the junkie neighbor.
Right.
That guy's fine.
The woman who...
The woman who lives upstairs is the worst character in the MCU. Second worst, Foggy from Daredevil, and apparently he's in the show. Yeah. Is he cameoing, maybe? Come on, he's just cameoing. He's going to show up and go, bye.
He's not going to fight anybody.
Well, sure, but I mean, if he has any monologues, if he starts monologuing, I'll be like, oh, fast forward. Okay, anyway, that's just me. You could disagree with me and be like, look, Foggy is the most important character in the MCU. Of this.
More important than Claire.
With the snap, I mean, I just hope Foggy survived because he is the crux of everything that happens in the MCU. Okay, so Foggy's representing who?
Luke Cage.
So he represents Luke Cage. He's like, oh, you need a public defender or something like that? Is that okay?
Well, public defender. I mean, he has connections because of Matt.
Is it Matt Murdock or is it Rand, Danny?
Oh, Danny Rand too. Yeah.
So
probably more Danny Rand.
Yeah, he's got rich folks. Okay. All right. Yay.
Yeah.
We can look forward to Foggy showing up. That's great. But okay. So we have Luke is kind of at a it's interesting that this is in episode 4 and there's still several episodes left because you would almost think this would be later in the show where, hey, I got beat up. I've got a concussion. My girlfriend left me. My mentor is left. And I'm questioning whether I'm a hero or a vigilante.
Setting up the end or the end of Mariah's time. So they're still setting that up. So you could say this is the beginning of the ascent of Bushmaster. So
right. We do also see this was kind of it was an interesting scene and maybe a little odd. Was Luke gets a clue that maybe Bushmaster is connected to Tilda's store. He gets like the name. I forgot the name of the store, but anyway, he goes asking questions. And he has a scene with Tilda. Mm-hmm. She denies knowing the Bushmaster. She clearly knows.
She clearly does know
Luke, and she knows that she's been watching the video of him getting beat up by Bushmaster. But she's like, I don't know.
Who she saw earlier come to get the nightshade. So
right.
There you go.
And he's using it and being all about. So she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She decides not. She chooses sides.
Yep.
And the side she chooses is Bushmaster. she does say, hey, you look like you got a concussion. You might need an MRI. MRIs? But here's a little concoction for you. Now, this was the interesting part. She like, they have a whole thing about the skin. She touches his hand.
Yep.
She's like, oh, your skin's really soft and smooth. And then he puts his hand on top of hers. He's like, whatever. There's flirtation happening there.
I guess.
And it's just like, is that going somewhere? Because it's like, Claire just left.
Yes.
It'd be like, well, my girlfriend left yesterday, so I'm free. Anyway, it was just weird that it seemed like they were hinting at either she's gonna try to, play with his emotions, maybe, or maybe they'll have an actual. They're not gonna have an actual relationship, I wouldn't think. I think that Claire is the.
I mean, I don't think that she's as clearly on Bushmaster's side as you're suggesting.
I agree that she's not evil, or what she's like. Ha ha. She's just wary. She's like, oh, it's probably not the best thing for me to advertise that I make Nightshade, and I'm just gonna keep that quiet. Yeah. But for whatever, I mean, she could be, if she was like lawful good in D&D terms, she'd be like, yes, Luke Cage, I know how he beat you. I can make this concoction for him, and that's how you can stop him, is if he doesn't get this, whatever. But instead she's like, nope.
What is this, Stranger Things? I mean.
Maybe. So anyway, that was just an interesting bit where it was like, oh, they're hinting at maybe feelings between the two of them, I thought.
Whoa.
Feelings. The other thing that was interesting was Misty. So Misty's counseling Luke a little bit. He's sorry that Claire left, and she's like, oh, I like the two of you, but Luke asked to crash at her place. I like this. He's like, I brought my bag, and could I crash it? Hell no.
Yeah.
Then later she's like, oh, and don't forget your bag. It's in my car, and you're not coming back to pick it up. And what I get out of that is not that she's like, screw you, Luke Cage. I feel like she's like,
that's awkward. Trouble.
Yeah, the day that you eventually get back with Claire, I don't want to have to say, oh yeah, he stayed at my place while you were gone. And so she's just avoiding the appearance of improprieties, I think.
It was humorous to me as a complete, only tangentially related. It was like, what was it? Whenever anybody offers coffee to Luke, it's like,
it's all sex.
Yeah. So that's what happened in that place there. The woman who works there was like, "You want coffee?" And she kind of laughed.
Yeah. Yes, that's the code. The code for the sex.
Yes.
All right, I think we've touched on most of the stuff from 3 and 4. So we'll be back talking about 5 and 6.
Foggy.
The more foggy, the better. I can't even say it.
No, you can't.
My throat. All right, great. I get to watch more Foggy, which is awesome. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, what is the hair going to look like? Maybe you don't know.
Damn it. Hate that guy. All right, anyway. We'll be back next time. Please subscribe if you want to get notifications on stuff. Anyway, bye, everybody.